Thank you.
I'm realizing for me it's one matter to identify the need, and then it's another matter to really appreciate the beauty in it.
That's probably one of the hardest things for most of us to do, to really see our need as a gift, especially with the training we've had for a long time.
So I'm wondering, I don't know your name. Kay. If you really saw the beauty in his needs at that moment, would you be willing to tell me?
For our freedom.
But did you see the beauty in that?
It takes a little while.
If she gets enough empathy
point.
for her fear, if she gets empathy from him for her fear, she doesn't feel that her need for some safety is a gift to him to provide that. So that means that he doesn't hear it as a demand. He doesn't feel threatened by it. He just hears her needs. If he receives that as a gift, and she sees it in his eyes or on the tone, then that's going to release some of her fear. That she sees that her need matters. And then she can see, I'll bet you much easier, that, yeah, who of us wants not to be able to talk to who we choose to, and certain freedom to do this. And then I think she's better able to see his need. And when he feels that that need is really understood, my prediction is the problem will solve itself. That it doesn't take a genius to find out ways of getting everybody's needs met when there's a certain connection made. The problem is we haven't known how to make that connection, yes.
Yes, and I guess what I'm saying is that the important piece of the connection is seeing the beauty of it right now. I mean, that's I guess my chunk of understanding is that there is no memnu period if you can't really get the depth of that beauty.
Exactly.
Period.
Exactly. If you can't see
the need. It may sound
need,
obvious, but I'm
no, it's important, and I'm
slow.
glad you stress it. Until we can see the need and the request as a gift, then anything that's given is people are going to pay for it. And it isn't easy to see it as a gift if we hear it as a demand, given our definition of marriage or what it means to be in a serious relationship. It's hard not to immediately have our strong need for freedom, autonomy, threatened. See? So just like my son, it's easier to give to anybody else beside the person that you hear their needs as a demand. He saw the beauty in the woman at the corner's needs. One day his brother wanted to go down there and do it, and they had an argument about it. I'm not kidding.
So I guess that's the lump I need to get to when I'm in pain, trying to see that other needs beauty as big as mine.
And I've tried to look inside myself to try to find out, why do I still have so much trouble seeing my needs as beautiful? And it came to me one day because of how many people have given to me out of energy other than Memnoon. See? I said, am I afraid that people are going to say no? No, I don't have any fear of no. Hardly ever have people said no to me. I'm much more afraid of a yes. That people have given with that other stuff mixed in. So then it leads me to associate my need as a burden. Because that's what it becomes when those other things are mixed in. So without realizing it consciously, I've developed that association to my needs, that they are a demand, a burden, rather than a gift. Yes. And the thing is, what's even more frustrating for this is that it's seldom one or the other. You see, like my mother gave, I think, about 90% out of loving to give, but 10% out of duty and obligation. So there were times when they're mixed, and then that makes it even harder to trust, you see.
I'll give you a very specific example. How do you dog for your needs and not make it a demand? Because I paid all the bills and put in all the money, and I began to feel like this major burden, and all I wanted was some help in paying the bills. And it began to be really resentful, like I ended up hating paying the bills.
Then you were paying the bills out of the wrong energy. You weren't doing it out of
I'm
Mem Noon
feeling
energy.
so much better now. Not only did I do it wrong.
It's not my fault, Paul. I'm Jewish and I can't help inducing guilt. So this don't hold it against me.
It worked. So, I guess I'm looking for how do I like dog for my needs there without it ending up becoming a demand?
By early in the game, seeing your need as a gift and asking for support. So let's see you do that now. Let's go back before you were. I would have hoped that you wouldn't have paid one bill that wasn't coming out of really enjoying giving. So now let's say you're starting to feel uncomfortable. You have a need for some support. Now let's hear you ask for it.
I'm scared and frustrated because I want to be able to communicate with you in a way that it doesn't seem like a demand.
Yeah.
And at the same point, I really would love, it would mean a lot for me to have some support in paying the bills. It's feeling overwhelming. And I would appreciate you telling me what you just heard me say.
That you'd like some support with the bills.
Thank you. I'd actually like you also to hear another part of it, that I'm feeling overwhelmed and scared, and it would mean a lot to me for you to be able to help.
Yeah. And so it's scary for you and feeling some pressure, and what a relief it would be for you if you could have support.
Yeah, and the other side, the other part of my fear is that you might hear it as a demand, and then we would both pay a really high price. And I'm wondering if there's a way that we could do it that would bring joy to both of us.
So you're also wanting to be sure that, or hoping that I don't hear any demand in this, because if this gets resolved with either of us feeling any demand, you're worried about that not being good for both of us.
Absolutely. And for the people who receive the bills.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And I'm torn now because I hear your need as a memnoon. Part of me does. And makes me want to give. But what gets mixed in with that is my feeling guilty that I haven't given more. And now part of what my wanting to give you is out of this guilt.
Yeah.
And if I give out of that guilt, it's not responding to your demand, it's responding to my inner jackal's demand. But I'm afraid we'll still both pay for it. Even if I don't hear it as a demand from you, if I still hear it as an internal demand, as fairness, as something you should do for somebody who's given so much to you, you'll still pay for it.
So I'm hearing there's a lot of fear in you that if you do this as a demand, that it will distance the connection and relationship that's really important to you.
And I don't know how to give purely that isn't mixed in with all of this jackal guilt that I should, because I see how much you've given, and now I make it not your demand, it's my own demand. But if I give out of that demand, you'll pay for it equally. Because you'll still be associated this. I'd like to know what this touched in you, Paul, when I said this.
It'd be helpful to move on. I'd just like to sit for a minute.
All right. Anybody stimulated by what this partner said? Stimulate anything in others?